Hello students, I'm Rikita Fernandez from Thakur College of Science and Commerce from Department of Accountancy. Today we'll be looking on the new concept that is working capital management. Students, this topic you'll be studying in TY that is semester 6 FM3 SYBMS. The subject is accounting for managerial decisions. SYBCom, SYBBI, SYBIM, you'll be studying this concept in your management accounting. Let us begin. Well, so previously in your previous chapters, you definitely would have studied what is working capital. So what is working capital, students? Working capital is that amount of cash which is required by the business for its day-to-day activities, for running its business operations. Working capital management is the business strategy to effectively use its current assets and current liabilities to maintain sufficient cash flow to meet its short-term operating costs and short-term debt obligations. Basically, working capital is nothing but it shows the financial stability, or I can say short-term financial position of the company. You definitely must have studied in ratio analysis what is the formula to calculate working capital. The formula is very simple. It is current assets minus current liabilities. What are current assets? So you definitely know what are current assets. They are your cash, your inventory, your accounts receivable, bills receivable, prepaid expenses, etc. Minus your current liabilities. Current liabilities include your account payable, outstanding expenses, bills payable, short-term debts, short-term obligations, etc. The standard ratio for maintaining this is 2:1. What does that mean, students? That simply means you should have rupees 2 of your current assets and rupee 1 of your current liability. That means you should have 2 rupees with you and you should be having only rupee 1 to be paid. Patch. Working capital means patch. The standard ratio is 2:1. That means you should have rupees 2 of current assets and rupee 1 of your current liability. That means you should have rupees 2 in your hand to pay rupees 1 of your liability. Students, now let us move to the practical part of the working capital management. Now, when you get sums, it's very simple how you will analyze the question. Firstly, just now we have seen the formula to calculate the working capital. The formula is current assets minus the current liabilities. Now, whenever you get questions, students, it's very important to read the data carefully. Whenever you get the questions, you have to be very cautious about the units given, whether they are per year or per month or it is on weekly basis. And secondly, you need to look upon the data that is given in the question, whether the time lag period that is given in weeks, that is given in months, etc. Accordingly, you need to convert your data. Second, for calculation of your work in progress. Now, what is work in progress? So, work in progress is that material which is in process. Okay, it is not raw material, it is neither finished goods. That means the work on that material is being in process. So, whenever there is work in progress, raw material you will take 100%. Material you will be taking 100%. Labor has not yet done his job, and that is why it is work in progress. So labor you will be taking 50%. Similarly, overheads. Overheads are those indirect costs which are applied to the material. Now, when it is work in progress, students, you will be taking material as 100% because you have put full material into process. However, because labor has not done the entire work, because if labor would have done the entire work, it would not have been work in progress. So labor we consider 50%, overheads we consider 50%. Now, it's very important if specific information is given in the question that you have to take this values or you have to use this percentage. It's very important, follow what is given in the questions. That's simple. But if no information is given in the question, you will follow this, what is mentioned here. Next, debtors and creditors. Students, for debtors and creditors, it's very important to consider only credit sales and credit purchases. Credit sales gives rise to debtors, whereas credit purchase gives rise to creditors. Now, you need to look upon the question. If there is any concept of cash sales or cash purchases, you need to exclude that figures or you need to exclude those amounts. Debtors would always be calculated on the selling price, whereas creditors would always be calculated on the raw material purchase price. We sell goods to debtors, and that is why selling price is applicable whenever you are calculating debtors. We purchase raw material from creditors, and therefore for calculation of creditors you will be taking raw material. And lastly, coming to the concept of finished goods. Finished goods are those goods on whom all work has been done. Raw material 100%, labor 100%, overheads 100%. That means for finished goods students, you will be considering total cost of the product. That is raw material plus labor plus the overheads. So just quickly go through this practical part and the logic. Quickly, we will move on to a small sum and understand this concept in a more better way. Now, here is the question, students. Production and sales for the year are rupees 1,04,000 units. They have given us cost per unit. Raw material cost per unit is rupees 5. Labor cost per unit is rupees 3. Overheads cost per unit is rupees 2. So total cost comes to rupees 10, that is raw material plus labor plus overheads, that is 5 plus 3 plus 2. Total cost plus profit would give you sales. Total cost here is rupees 10 plus profit of 5 rupees will give you the selling price of rupees 15. Now, let us analyze the question. Raw material is, the time lag given is 3 weeks. What does that mean? That raw material, before it is being processed, it remains 3 weeks. Second, they have given material in progress 2 weeks. That is raw material which is put in progress, now it is being work in progress. This work in progress stays as work in progress until it becomes finished goods for 2 weeks. So material in process is for 2 weeks until it gets converted into finished goods. Next is your finished goods, that is 2 weeks. Finished goods, once they are converted into finished goods, the raw material gets converted into work in progress. Work in progress gets converted into finished goods. This finished goods, students, before it is being sold, it remains in the godown for 2 weeks. Next, debtors 4 weeks. That means the people, the customers whom we are selling goods, they repay us the money back after 4 weeks. So the time lag is 4 weeks. Next, they have told that cash is to be maintained of rupees 20,000. So we will be taking whatever they have given, the amount as it is, we will be taking as cash as 20,000 rupees. Next, creditors 2 weeks. What does that mean? The creditors from whom we purchase raw material, students, for them we give the payment after 2 weeks. So the time lag for payment to creditors is 2 weeks. Next is outstanding wages 2 weeks. What does that mean? The laborers who work, who convert our raw material into work in progress and finished goods, for them we give payment after 2 weeks, whereas outstanding overheads are 2 weeks. Now students, I hope you're very clear with the question. Now let us move to the solution part. The first step, which I had already told you, it is very important that you convert the data accordingly. Now students, if you see, the data given to us is in weeks. Whereas the production and sales given to us, that is for the year, it is given to us as 1,04,000 units. So what do we have to do? Step number 1 is convert this data into weeks, that is per annum into weeks. It's very simple. Your production and sales for the year are rupees 1,04,000 divided by how many number of weeks are there in a year? Yes, it's 52 weeks. So you will divide it by 52 weeks, and thus we get the answer 2000 units per week. Now the data is quite comparable. You know that the requirement is 2000 units per week and the entire data in the question is in 2 weeks. Now we can move towards the solution and we will be able to solve this sum. So students, the formula I hope you remember. Yes, it's current assets minus current liabilities. So what do we have to do? Firstly, we will write all the current assets. We will do the total of current assets, and finally we will write the current liabilities. The formula is very simple. It's current assets minus your current liabilities. Now, in current assets, if you see, you have raw material, you have work in progress, you have finished goods, you have debtors, and you have cash. These first 5 points are in relation to your current assets. If you see the next 3 points, that is point number 6, point number 7, and point number 8, that is your current liabilities. So it's very simple. Current assets minus current liabilities. If you see raw material, now raw material units, we know requirement is 2000 units per week. So here we have written 2000 units. Now raw material is purchased at 5 per unit. So into cost per unit is rupees 5 into how much is the duration given in the question? 3 weeks. So into 3. So 2000 into 5 into 3 will give you 30,000. After raw material, coming to the next point, that is material in progress, or I can say work in progress. Work in progress includes your raw material, your labor, and your overheads. I hope you remember that. Now, as I told you, unless and until specified in the question, we will use that assumption. What is that? Raw material will be taken 100%. Labor will be taken 50% and overheads will be taken 50% each. Okay. So units, again, everywhere units we will be taking 2000 because we have done the calculation here. So it is 2000 units into raw material is purchased at 5 per unit. So into 5 into material in progress that they have given is, that is 2 weeks. So into 2 into 100%, that will give you 20,000. Next, wages. Wages, again, units is 2000. Wages is labor, that is 3 rupees. So into 3 into material in progress is 2 weeks. So into 2 into 50% will give you 16,000. Overheads again 2000 into overheads, if you see in the question, it is 2 per unit, so it is multiplied by 2 into the time lag for material to be converted is 2 weeks, so into 2 weeks into 50% will give you 4,000. After raw material, work in progress, the next is your finished goods. I hope you remember finished goods are to be valued on the total cost. Why? Because raw material, labor and overheads, all the work has been done, and therefore finished goods are to be calculated on total cost. Now finished goods, again, unit you will take 2000. If you see the total cost of the product is rupees 10, so 2000 into 10 into, if you see the duration, finished goods is of 2 weeks, so into 2 will give you 40,000. Next, that is point number 4, debtors. I hope you remember we have discussed that debtors would be calculated on selling price. So selling price here is 15. So debtors would be 2000 into selling price, that is 15 into, given in the question, debtors duration is 4 weeks. So into 4 will give you 1,20,000. Finally, cash, if you see students in point number 5, cash is directly given So you need not do any calculation. You will write as it is, that is cash is 20,000. With that, we have got all the current assets. Once you do the total of current asset, that is 30,000 plus 20,000 plus 16,000 plus 4,000 plus 40,000 plus 1,20,000 plus 20,000 would give you 2,40,000. So your total current assets are of rupees 2,40,000. After current assets, now move on to current liabilities. Liabilities include your point number 6, 7 and 8, that is creditors, outstanding wages, outstanding overheads. Creditors, students, I hope you remember, creditors are to be taken on raw material. Why? Because from creditors we purchase raw material. Again, units, that is 2000 units. If you see, cost price of raw material is rupees 5. So 2000 into 5 into creditors duration is given to us 2 weeks. So into 2 weeks that will give us 20,000. Next is outstanding wages. It is again a liability, so we will include that in our current liability. Units 2000. If you see, labor is rupees 3, so 2000 into 3 into outstanding is for 2 weeks, so into 2 would give you 12,000. Next and the last point is outstanding overheads. Again, units 2000. If you see, overheads are of rupees 2 per unit, so into 2 into outstanding overheads week is rupees 2, so into 2 weeks, so 2000 into 2 into 2 weeks, that would give you 80,000. Finally, we have calculated all our current liabilities. Now, how will you do the total of your current liabilities? It's very simple. Creditors plus outstanding wages plus outstanding overheads, that is 20,000 plus 12,000 plus 8,000, that is 40,000. Finally, students, I hope you remember the formula. Working capital is current assets minus your current liabilities. Current assets are of rupees 2,40,000. Current liability are of rupees 40,000. So your working capital is nothing but current assets minus current liabilities. 2,40,000 minus 40,000, that is 2 lakhs. So students, that was about the working capital management. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Happy learning. Thank you.